Hello and welcome to Mommy Dennison Business Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Grace Yem. Welcome back, everybody. And, Happy New Year. It is 2026. Can you believe that? I certainly can't. And I know that many of you like to set goals and many of you don't like to set goals, but I am a goal setter. And I hope to, for the podcast, hope to continue growing it and growing our listenership. And so I am excited to have our speaker on to be with us and share his knowledge. His name is Chris Pistorius, dental marketing expert, speaker, and CEO of Kickstart Dental. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. I appreciate you having me.
Well, I'm glad. Do you set goals for the new year?
Yeah, yeah, we set a lot of goals. Both I do individually, not as well, but as a company we do as well. Yeah.
Amazing. And if you're listening, and you don't set goals, maybe this will inspire you because there's that famous quote that says, failure to plan means planning to fail, right?
Hmm.
So if you are planning on something, hopefully you've written down your goals. So let's get down to it. Chris, can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself, what you do, and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah. Wow, that's a loaded question. So I am the CEO of Kickstart Dental Marketing. I've owned this agency now for this is our 17th year, which seems absolutely nutso, but it is the
Mm,
case.
mhm.
How I got here, I've actually been in marketing and advertising my whole life. I went to college as a journalism major, really just because I didn't have to take a lot of math classes. That's how I got into it. So that's how I started. But then I started working for the college newspaper and I started selling ads. I was like, oh, this
Mm,
is pretty cool. You can
mhm.
help people and make
Yeah.
some money and all this fun stuff. And I wasn't a good writer, so I knew that wasn't going to be for me. So got into advertising, went through school, went into telecom for a while. That wasn't great. And then I got hired by, this is really going to date me. I got hired by AOL Time Warner back in the day when
Oh,
America Online was a big thing. For those
yeah.
of you who remember them, they were kind of
Oh,
the
yeah.
Google of back
Yeah,
then, 20
absolutely.
some years ago.
I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
totally remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got
You've
in with
got
them and
mail.
exactly. They used to send you those CDs in the mail to get you to sign up for their services. And yeah, it's crazy. But so I did market or advertising for them. I got into advertising sales with them. And I was there for several years. And that was kind of like the internet boom, late 90s and, early 2000s. And, it was just exploding. And I
Hmm.
was like, you know what? I think there's an opportunity here for me to branch out and start my own agency and actually teach small, medium business owners, how to untangle the web and help them with how to market online. And that's what I started. And in the beginning, we started as a generalist agency, meaning we took on anybody that would pay us essentially. So dentists or lawyers or auto mechanics, whoever it was. And then we quickly figured out within about a year that we need to be an expert in something, right? We need to really understand one niche and really run with it. And so we
Sure.
decided to go with dental, and
Mhm.
we haven't looked back since.
That's amazing. Congratulations. I'm sure
Yeah.
marketing is so fascinating to me because it's really incorporating psychology, human behavior, right?
Mm.
And when you're thinking about human behavior, there's specifics, but then there's general, and then you have to think about all the different kind of dynamics, right? Who is the customer, even down to like age group, whether they're male or female, etc. And so I think there's a lot at play when you're dealing with marketing. Right now, I feel like there's so much explosion with the way marketing happens because, in my opinion, consumers are consuming more on social media than almost anywhere. Even like Gen X or older than that, depending on which platform. But what do you think is working right now, like in dental practice marketing? Because like you said, AOL was a thing, right? And it what times have changed, and it just keeps moving faster and faster and faster. What do you think works right now for dental practices?
I don't think it's that simple, unfortunately. I think it's a little different based on like the practice. specifically. If you're a practice that's going high into dental implants, that's a different market than somebody that's going and accepting, state healthcare and, going more of a higher volume practice.
Hmm.
And what works for one doesn't work for all. And it also completely changes on where you are in the country. What we're finding right now is that we really have to customize these strategies even more than ever. It's not you can't do a cookie cutter, set it and forget it type marketing strategy and expect that to work, and that's what we've really seen so far in the last probably year.
Hmm.
Is it's not one size fits all. You're absolutely right. Social media is a big part of it. Online visibility with search engines is still and will be for a long time a big part of it. But now we're starting to see more people using AI in terms
Right.
of they're using ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini as a search engine. So they're
Right.
going to those and saying, "Hey, who's the
Right.
best dentist in this area?"
Right.
And then they're bypassing Google and Yahoo and Bing and places like that. So we're starting to get way more into that now. So it's not real simple. It's more complex than it was when I started 20 some years ago. And I think that will continue. And I think that that's why it's important to really have those goals set of what you're trying to accomplish and who it is you're trying to bring in for the year, and then put together the plan of how to get those people in.
Absolutely. And even with, and I've been keeping my eye on this, and even with Google and YouTube, speaking about search engines, even with Google now in the top, the first thing that comes up is their AI, their Gemini,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like, well, how's that affecting your ads, your paid ads, right? You pay for clicks, pay per click. And how is now that AI disrupting our own ad spend and our own ad money to pay for Google ads? And like, what is that doing? Because now I would say people have always been trained to look at the top, right?
Yeah.
Before Gemini, right? It was always look at the top and you're paying for that top position. But now you're getting ousted by AI. So now what?
Yeah, you start doing things that will get you to show up on Gemini. And there are a lot of the very similar things that you would do for a regular search engine optimization campaign, right? There's a lot of the similarities, but there's also a lot of different things too. And it's changing almost on the daily of what AI looks for. And so it's the people in our agency are, we've got people on top of this and just kind of monitoring this almost on a daily basis of what it's
Right.
going to take to make sure our clients are represented. But you're right. But I think, yeah, they're at the top and they're dominating. But I think at some point, what we'll see is what we've seen with social media, like TikTok and all these others, is that at some point there'll be a monetization of it and you'll
Right.
start paying for ads on Gemini and Chat GPT and things like that. So I think that's coming.
It's kind of sad because it's not pure. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's nice that it's like pulling information that isn't affected by money. Like it's not
Right.
affected by someone paying for them to say they're the number one, right?
Yeah.
But like everything else, they will monetize it. What are things that dentists they shouldn't be doing? Like stop spending time or money on or efforts on what's like outdated.
Stop doing nothing is the biggest thing, right? You can't, we still have a lot of practices out there that think that, oh, this stuff's crazy. I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. And, it's worked for this long. Why wouldn't it work now? And that's a quick way to become irrelevant in the marketing world and visibility world very fast. It would probably astonish you of how many practices I talk to on a weekly basis that are like, hey, I used to do 40, 60, 80 new patients a month, and now I'm down to 20, and I don't know why. And we start looking into it, it's they have not kept up with marketing, corporate
Hmm.
competition, all the new practices and kids coming out of school, and they get right into marketing. And so you can't just go by referrals. Referrals are great, trust me, but you can't just rely on those every month as a substantial lead generation model for your practice.
Right.
So I think that's my best advice is stop doing nothing and actually get involved and do things to get yourself and your brand out there.
So I have a question for you about, stop doing nothing. I feel like you said, it's a little bit of everything, right? You have to do a little bit of everything to stay
Hmm.
relevant and search. engine optimization is really important. And knowing what I know, which I don't know as much, but how important is it then to have a really up-to-date website? And now I'm only asking you this because I feel like it's all kind of tied, right? Like your performance of your website has to be optimal in order for AI to pick it up, but also for Google, all of that, right? So I guess my question truly is if you're a practice owner, let's say 10 years out, and you haven't touched your website in like 5 years, right? Because sometimes it gets to a point where it's an afterthought, right? Like your practice is booming, you're doing fine, you're kind of coasting. Um, you kind of forget about the website. So how, like, what kind of advice do you have for people that are in that kind of phase?
Yeah, I think everything is tied in together right now, because the only way to rank on Google is to have a really good, well optimized website, unless you're doing paid ads, of course. But the stats are about 90% of people click on organic listings versus 10% of people that will click on paid ads on Google. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it is all tied in. Having a website and a optimized one and a up to date one is still very important because it is a way that AI can find you. Now, AI is using a lot of different places, but websites certainly. And the only way to be relevant with Google is to have updated, good, solid content on your website. So that means constantly creating new content, blogs, ebooks, all video, things like that on your website. And so you
Mm-hmm.
can't just not pay attention to it and expect it to continue to be relevant for Google. You have to continue to add to it. And it's not just Google, it's the people that are going to your site too. They want to see that as well. The more that you can give away for free, that's very valuable. It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
great for conversions and it's going to be great for Google as well.
So, what are common mistakes or marketing mistakes you see dental practices like making when they're in growth mode?
Wow. So when they're in growth mode, sometimes what they'll try to do is just throw a whole bunch of money out there and hope something works. And they're not sure what for sure is working,
Mm-hmm.
but they
Mm-hmm.
know something is. And I think probably a mistake that I see is that you're not tracking things well enough from a marketing perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big believer in what gets measured gets done. And so I track everything. So if you're going to spend $5,000 a month on Google ads, that's great. It's probably
Right.
going to do you well as long as you're doing it correctly. But how do you know at the end of the month exactly what that $5,000 brought you? How many new patients? How many
Mm-hmm.
of those patients came back to you time and time again? How much revenue per, what's your cost per acquisition? Things like that. So I think that the big takeaway here is, it's great to be in growth mode, but you have to be responsible. You have to grow responsibly and know of the marketing budget that you have, what you're getting back and what's working the best for you.
Now, if you mentioned marketing budget and obviously tracking your ROI, what would you say is a healthy budget for practices like just starting out or for practices that are 5 years out?
Yeah, that's another loaded question. Again, it's going to depend on where you are. So if you're in Topeka, Kansas, your budget's going to be a little different than you're from Manhattan, right? Not
Okay.
Manhattan, Kansas, but Manhattan, New York, right? So budgets are going to change based on demographics. I will tell you that in most markets, if you're going to do Google ads, for instance, if you spend under $1,000 a month, it's probably not worth doing in most markets. And in markets like San Diego, tier one, New York City, things like that, it's going to be double, triple of that minimum, just to give yourself a chance to compete. Because what's happening is the more competition there, it drives up, it's basically a big auction for Google ads. And so the more people that are competing for a particular keyword is going to drive the price up. So the lower competition you have, it's going to be less budget, higher the more. Facebook and Instagram are a little different. You don't pay per click for them. Typically, you pay by impressions. So it's usually about half of the budget for Google. Typically, is what we see. Most of our clients, though, that we take on are between $2,000 and $10,000 a month of total budget between the fees that we charge and then their ad budget as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, if a dentist wants sustainable long-term growth, where should they start? And I think that, let me rephrase this question because of course everybody wants long-term sustainable growth, right? Like that's the whole point, right? Is to have kind of like a roadmap of growth and keep like making that like squiggly line keep going up, right?
Yeah.
So, if they want that squiggly line to keep going up and pointing arrow up, where should they focus their marketing efforts?
In today's world, I would focus it on still Google, and then I would start really looking into AI. And the reason being is because I think we're at a point right now with AI that we were 20 some years ago with the internet as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, and I can remember this like it was yesterday, but back then people were thinking, oh, this internet thing's a fad. It's just going to pass. I don't need a website. Nobody's going to need a website in another year. This is going to pass. And obviously, we've seen how that's worked out. And the people that were late adopters to that fell behind. They really did. Small businesses hurt that didn't jump onto this internet thing. I think we're that exact same juncture with AI.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that think, oh, this isn't going to stick around. This is crazy. I don't want to talk to robots.
Yeah, I
But
don't.
I think it's gonna explode, and maybe not in the way that a lot of people think it is, but in the terms of marketing your business, I think it absolutely will.
Well, I mean, it's not just marketing. Clinicians should be looking at
Yes.
diagnostic AI,
Yes.
AI just to be efficient in the office. I feel like front desk, insurance, there's a lot of ways to use AI that can make your practice more efficient and less dependent on people. Not
It's
that,
absolutely right.
not that you don't need people. It's just that, hey, if someone's calling out sick, you still have, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? You have like a
Yeah.
backup. I
Well,
think so important.
I think it's important to. I don't see AI right now anyway, and I know the fear is it's going to replace human jobs, and yeah, there'll be some of that for sure. But um, I I think right now what you should be thinking about AI as is not like a human replacement, but using it as a resource in terms of like a lot of times when we use AI, we're asking what they think of something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, we wrote this article about dental implants. What do you think of this? And they give us feedback on that. I think that's what we should be asking about AI is how it can help us as a resource, not necessarily a human replacement right now. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
tell you, I don't think it's going to be that big of a human replacement in healthcare anytime soon. Because when you go to order a pizza, you probably don't care if it's AI or not, right? You're ordering a pizza. Who cares, right?
Right.
But when you're talking about the healthcare of your family and yourself, that's a little different story. You don't want to talk to a bot about that. You want to
Right.
talk to a human being that has sympathy, empathy, experience, things like that. And
Absolutely.
I'm seeing practices try to use AI now in that sense, and it's backfiring. They're trying to
Sure.
use these voice AI agents to take all of their calls, and
Right.
that's just not going well. So
Right.
I think you're right. It definitely has its place in marketing, advertising, as well as making your practice more efficient. But I would
Mm-hmm.
be hesitant right now in healthcare to take that too far.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so incredible. It's so like you had mentioned, when the um websites were just starting and people who didn't take advantage fell behind. I remember, right, like working as an associate and I said to my boss, we need to get a website. Like you need a website. And he literally takes the yellow pages and puts it in front of me. He goes, "We do not need to advertise." Like he was obviously very proud of his off, and word of mouth, etc. He's like, "But we have our office in here, and that's enough." And I was
Yeah.
just, you know, I didn't roll my eyes at him, but in my brain, I'm rolling my eyes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like begging for like a year. And I even, people who are listening or laugh, as an associate, I even called a company and said, "Could you just come and do a lunch and learn so we can convince my boss to get a website?"
I get that today. I still get that today. People call me and say that.
Yeah, right. Like, could you
Yeah.
just come and just do like a 1 hour and just please? And it's that it's that whole, generational gap too, right? Of you got to do this like digital x-rays, etc. But
Yeah.
they eventually come around. They eventually come
Yeah.
around. So
Yeah.
back to my questions on marketing. Now, what are one or two practical marketing strategies that dental offices or dentists can implement right away to see better results? And I know it's kind of a vague question because results could be many different things, but
Yeah.
what do
Yeah.
you?
I think if it were me, especially if I had a limited budget, I would start doing some Facebook ads.
Hmm.
They're quick, they're fairly easy, they're not as complex as Google ads, they're definitely not as expensive. And just do content from your cell phone. Do some videos. Just do like, and I'll tell you, I will give you some. I'll give you the packet that we give to our clients. I'm like, hey, if you don't want to pay for a professional video shoot, here's some things that you should shoot and promote. I'll give that to you, and you can give it away to your audience. But
Oh, thank you.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But just do some videos with this, 2 minutes at the most, and introduce yourself to begin with, right? And that's your campaign. Put $10 a day or whatever it is towards it, and start running some ads to your market.
Hmm.
That will get results. You will start getting results out of that. That's where I would start, and then go from there.
Okay. So I have another question to stem off of this suggestion because a lot of doctors are camera shy and they're not
Yeah,
comfortable. Like, how do you get over that?
man, we just had this happen to us. Like, we had a video and photo shoot scheduled. They went out to the doc's practice and they just completely like, nope, I'm not going to do it. So all we could shoot was like their office, and I get it. I used to be a little bit like that too, but you've gotta, I don't know how you can mentally get over that.
Mm,
Um, I think that what we have done a few times is that we've hired spokespeople. You can
mhm.
go to a website called Fiverr, Fiverr.com,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they've got spokespeople that you can hire, and you give them the script and they shoot it for you and they send it to you and you're done. I don't think it comes off as authentic as the actual doc in the practice. Or if you have an office manager, a hygienist, an assistant that's good on camera, use them.
Hmm.
But in terms of how do you get over that mentally, I don't know, a therapy session maybe, but I don't know specifically. I just know that as a business owner, I knew I had to do it. And I just like, hey, if I want to be successful, it's something I've got to do. It's part of the job. And so I got over it. But that's all
Well,
the advice I've got on it.
I also think practice makes perfect, right? I
Yeah.
know, like when I
Mhm.
video myself too, I mean, it's cringy because nobody wants to replay and watch yourself, right? But the more you do it, and the more you practice, and you might need to record yourself like 20 times, but at some point you'll nail it, and then at some point, or even write a little script. But I feel like even practicing in front of a mirror, it sounds so stupid and silly, and you're gonna feel silly doing it. But I feel like when I use my phone, like you said, I'll just look at it and practice like 3 sentences, right? Just three
Yeah.
sentences, and then I'll then keep re-recording until I feel like I'm comfortable with it, and then I'll finally get it down because it's just practice makes perfect. But
Yeah.
can't you just have an AI bot do it?
Ugh. Yeah, you can. I don't think it's there yet. I've tried it. I've done a few ads with it actually, and it's pretty
Mhm.
good, but it's still, people can tell. And I could show you some ads. I mean, where people got mad. They like commented in a section of my
Really?
Facebook ads, like, this is, and they use bad language and like, this is
Really?
AI crap and junk. And they got irritated and mad over it. And you're always going to get some of that when you run these Facebook ads, but this one was worse. So personally, I don't think it's there. I've tested it. I continue to test it, but you
Hmm.
absolutely could do that. You could, yes. A
Well,
couple of resources. I'm sorry to cut you off. It would
yeah,
be,
yeah, yeah.
HeyGen, Heygen. That's a
Wait,
great
what?
platform to do that on.
Okay. HUI.
HeyGen, HEY, like hey, HEY, Gen, GEN.
Hey, Jen. Like,
Yep,
hey. Okay. All right.
yep.
So this question might sound kind of weird, but not everyone, but a lot of people are like, oh, I love using AI. I love using AI. So if they love using AI so much, what's the backlash of having an AI generated video of yourself?
I don't know. I think that there's more people that just find it scary, and I think those actions come from fear. versus anything else. You know, if
Mm-hmm.
it's different, it's new, it scares the hell out of me. They can't adapt to change and that freaks them out. So that's how they react to some things. I think it's just a matter of, a certain percentage of population, honestly.
Okay. I'm just curious about that. I'm just like, what? But but
Yeah.
anyway,
There's a
I
lot
think
more people that don't use AI right now than
yeah,
that do. So,
right. Okay, well, before I ask you my last question, this just thought kind of popped up into my head, which was going way back to the first question. And the first thing you mentioned was about tracking everything, like
yes.
measuring everything. So, do you think that, like, what's the best way to track everything? What are you telling your clients? Like, track it like using spreadsheets, your front desk, or is it tracking using a software? Like, how are you tracking things?
Yeah, well, on our part, we built a custom dashboard that allows our clients to log in and see all of the leads that came in. We use call tracking, so I would do that. A good company to do that with is called CallRail,
Mm-hmm.
CallRail. That's who we use actually,
Mm-hmm.
and track all of your calls, record them. It's all HIPAA secure, so you don't have to worry about that. And if you set it up correctly, it'll tell you where the calls originated from in terms of like source. But
Mm-hmm.
it'll also show the phone number, caller ID, all that fun stuff. But we created a tracking system that tracked all the calls, all the form fill outs, all of that stuff into one place. It'll show the original source of it. And then we can track back to revenue with the practice management software. So if it's Dentrex, Open Dental, whatever it might be, we can collaborate and say, okay, these are the leads that came in that actually scheduled. These are the ones that didn't. We can put those people in a different campaign to get them back in. But the ones that scheduled, let's follow them and see, all right, how much revenue brought in? Were they a repeat patient? Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You do some research. There's no one size fits all here again. Do some research, but there is some ways that you as a practice owner can do it on your own, whether it's a spreadsheet, whether it's having the front desk ask. Just track it. Do something to start tracking this so you could see, what is tracking well, what's not, and how to spend
Mm-hmm.
ad budget based off that.
Absolutely. And just for helpful tips, you guys, back when I did it old school, we didn't have dashboards. We didn't have like we were forced to track it manually. It was not automated.
Mhm.
And so the the front desk would always, I train them always to ask, how did you hear about us? Because that's like the number one. Like, don't just
Yeah.
book them and schedule them. Just say, like, how did you call us? Was it a mailer? Was it whatever? Was it Yelp? Was it the doctor, your pediatrician? And you can put your notes into the Dentrix or whatever
Yeah.
CRM you're using. And then from your CRM at the end of the month, it can generate a report showing all the referral sources, like Facebook,
Yeah.
like you said. And it's really important every month to check it because it ties to your new patient numbers. And then you'll see, okay, I spent all this money on Google Ads, but not one patient came from Google Ads. Okay, I spent $10 using Facebook ads and I got three patients. Okay, time to increase the Facebook ad budget, right? So I think that it's just really important to measure where your dollars are going and not just willy-nilly anecdotally guess because you need evidence, like you need proof of where your leads are coming from. And call rail or whatever it is to record, you might be thinking why. You might be thinking like, why do I need to record this call? Chris, why do they need to record phone calls?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, and probably the best, and the one I'm going to talk about is quality assurance. You can now have CallRail integrated with AI, record the whole call transcript, but then put that into a simple summary so you don't have to listen to the whole call. If it's an 8-minute call, it's kind of hard to do if you got 100 of them. So it'll do a quick summary of the call. And it will allow you to see how the front desk is dealing with these calls. So, for instance, one thing that we set up for our clients is the call rail system, but it will show every call. We train it so it'll show who answered the phone, what they did well on the call, what they didn't do very well, based on the training that we've put together. And then you can start seeing trends. If Randy keeps answering the phone and putting people on hold for too long, if Betsy is like, not answering specific questions that patients want to hear, or not understanding exactly what's going on with the call, things like that. And you can start to see trends. So for me, it's quality assurance first, because if you're going to do marketing or you're going to have referrals, you want to make sure that your first line of defense is doing what they're supposed to in terms of answering those calls.
So I'm just going to add to that so everyone who's listening, this is really, really, really important because all that money you're spending on ads and whatever, right? And think of it this way. You might think, oh, well, I got a referral from Dr. So and so, or I got a referral from the pediatrician. I'm not spending money on that. Well, actually, you are because you're
Yeah.
spending the time to go over there, drop off referral pads, or give them cookies, or whatever you are, right? And so when I did phone call recording as a pediatric dentist, I got to the point, okay, you need at least 3 to 6 months worth of data. Okay, you're not going to get this out of 1 month. You have to do these phone call training. I would call them trainings because I myself would sit down and review the recording. And it got to the point where I could train my staff to book a new patient in under 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's old school without all the stuff, right? And I knew that if a recording had gone 15 minutes, like double or 20 minutes, I knew it was a red flag. Like something is wrong. Like what is going on? And you have in place certain front desk people, like you said, Randy or whoever, and you can improve them. Now, if there was a call that was like 15 minutes and it was my dental assistant taking the call, then I know, okay, like she's not really trained, but maybe Randy wasn't there that day. So Lucy had to pick up that phone, right? Someone is
Yeah.
better than no one picking up that phone, but it took her double the time because she's not used to it, right? So, okay, that's a pass, right? But if your front desk is consistently doing XYZ, you'll be able to get a system in which they'll they'll not only just have a script, but they have to be able to go off script, right? So that because not everyone is the same with every single question, but you will then see no, new patient numbers go up, consistency, and then your dollars being put to work. Because if you spent $10 on Facebook ads and they call and we can't close them, meaning we can't get them on the books, that's a waste of $10. Like
Yep.
you just wasted $10 because your front desk couldn't get them on the books. And we can use all the fancy terms we want, like conversion, but in reality, if that person didn't book or schedule, as a business owner, you should be like, well, there's just $10 down the toilet.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree.
So that's why I think it's really important that you find people, expert people to work with that can train your team, that can record the calls, have it on a dashboard. Like if I were to start a practice all over again, I would take advantage of all that and spend a lot of money with marketing and doing all of this because again, for Chris said the first line of defense is your team and you just spent all that money. So Chris, when you work with clients and you're training the team or your team is training the team, what kind of personality do you feel like has been the best at the front desk for those that you've seen are successful?
Yeah, this might go against popular opinion, but the best front desk people that we found were people that they hired that had no dental experience whatsoever. They trained them
Really?
from, yeah, they hired 100% on personality
Yeah.
alone. I've
Okay.
heard stories of he or she was a waitress or a
Uh-huh.
waiter at a restaurant and they were just awesome. And we offered them a job and we trained them to do the front desk job. And that personality stays, right? It's just you can teach them the dental side of it, right? It's the personality that's the biggest thing. It's the warm, inviting personality, happy all the time, smiling, interacting well, well spoken, right? Those are the things you can't teach or change. So, those have been the best front desk people that we've experienced for sure.
Okay. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, that makes sense, right? But that's great to have that type of person at the front. As a pedodontist, I had the most success hiring school teachers at the front.
Mm.
because they know how to handle parents. Like they know how to communicate
Yeah.
with parents, because it's really the parent communication and the child. And
Yeah.
so off of whim, like I would hire, and then like I was like, oh my God, school teachers are amazing because they can multitask. They're confident communicators. They're organized. They're type A.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're underpaid.
Yeah, right, right, right. They're
Yeah.
not like they're not, they're taken for granted sometimes. And I think that a lot
Yeah.
of school teachers, can really handle high stress environment.
Yeah.
Especially the front desk is high stress in the
For
front.
sure. Yeah.
So my last question to you is, well, no, my second to last, I promise this is the second to last question. What advice do you have for new practice owners that haven't, well, okay, that haven't even started? Like they haven't even bought a practice, but they want to buy a practice. Like when they buy a practice, what should they be looking at in terms of like that practice's, I guess, marketing and
Yep.
all that? Yeah.
Yeah. It's overlooked. I mean, most people will buy a practice without talking to the bank about a marketing budget.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, oh crap, we forgot about marketing. Don't forget about it because you're going to need it. But when you're going to analyze um, new practices, do your homework. See where do they rank on Google now for that area? Are they
Mm-hmm.
doing any paid ads? What's their marketing strategy? That needs to be part of the due diligence phase of buying a practice. Because if they're not doing anything and they haven't for a while and they're seeing a decline in numbers, this is probably why. And it's going to cost you some money to get that back to where you want it to be. And that needs to be included in the budget with the bank and the financiers. And they're used to that and they don't have any problem lending money for that as long as you have a plan with it. So you really need to do some due diligence in the history of marketing and what they've done and things like that.
How much should you be asking the bank for?
Well, geez, that's a so our rule of thumb is if you're if you've taken over an existing practice, you need 10% plus of gross revenue in marketing budget is a good idea. If
Okay.
you're an established practice already, anywhere from 5 to 10% of gross revenue. If you're brand new from scratch, you need to probably double those numbers,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
at least in the first 6 months to get
Mm-hmm.
this thing launched. So
Okay.
again, the specific numbers depends on the market, what you're trying to do, what kind of a dentist you are, things like that. But those are at least some ballpark numbers.
Because you're a numbers guy, what would you say is a good ratio? So I'm not going to say how many new patients should you be getting from a marketing strategy because that's going to vary. But what is like a good ratio of new patients to dollar spend in like an average market?
You should be making on your ad spend total budget a 5 to 1 on average. So every dollar you spend, you should be returning five. Okay. But here's where a lot of practices go sideways. They're thinking in only in terms of gross revenue, which is fine. That's a stat called ROAS. But what you really ought to look at as well is what's your net profit,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that will determine what that ad spend's actually bringing back. Gross
Mm-hmm.
revenue is great, but the only number, and this is in a business, the only number you should be paying attention to in business is your profit number. That's the only thing that matters. It's great if you bring in $2 million a year, but if your net profit's 3%, that's not good, right? So that net profit is the biggest thing. And so you've got to be sure you're running efficiently, but it also goes into your ad budget because, if you are receiving 5 to 1 in gross revenue, that's great. But then what's your net? And so at a net rate, are you actually bringing in enough to cover what your ad spend? The other thing I'll tell you is that think about it not just in terms of your monthly, what you're bringing in for the new patients, but on average, how many of those new patients that you get stay with you for 5, 6, 10 years? And what kind of revenues will you be bringing in lifetime versus just in the month of
Right.
January, for instance?
Right.
So there's a lot of things to think about, and AI can help you with this. Go to
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT, the free version, just type in what you're thinking and some of the things I said, and it will help you come up with a calculator to just enter certain numbers, and it will give you all the things that you need.
Amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
now this is the final question. What is your number one piece of advice on how to find balance between, all the things you do because you sound like you're very, very busy running a very big machine there and your personal life?
You just have to set the time. You have to, it's not easy to do. And it took me a while to figure this out. But when you come home, you're home. And that's it. You turn everything off. Don't don't I guess always be present, not just physically, right, but
Mhm.
also emotionally and mentally to you and your family and everybody else. Just being home and being on your iPhone all night and your computer half the time, and isn't really being present. And I think that's really important. And once you do that, everybody will be happier. And if everybody else is happy, you're going to be happier. So I think that's probably my biggest piece of advice.
It's so hard to do.
It is. It
It's
is.
like really hard to do. I'm
Yeah.
trying and it's hard, but it's just yesterday my daughter is like trying to read me her essay for like the fifth time.
Yeah.
And she's like reading it to me and she's like, Mom, you're not paying attention. I'm like, I am.
Yeah. I
But
know.
I'm like, but I've listened to you 5 times, kid,
I know.
Oh my
I
God.
know. It's hard. It absolutely is. But just have her put the stuff into AI. It'll tell her.
Right, right. After we signed that petition from school
Yeah.
that says you will not use
Yeah.
AI, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Secretly.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on. Listeners, if you want to find more information on how to get started or have more questions with Kickstart Dental, Chris, what is the website URL? How do our listeners find you?
Yeah, just go to kickstartdental.com. You'll find us. There's a um, schedule a discovery call button all over
Okay.
the website. Just do
Okay.
that. Those are all start with me. I
Okay.
actually do all those personally. So I'd love to hear from your audience. And whether you turn into a client or not, I'll give you all the free advice I possibly can.
Amazing. Well, thank you because I've been reading a lot of posts lately of all these new practice owners like just emerging out
Yeah.
of
Yep.
nowhere. And I'm like, is this just like random or is it really happening because it's
Mm-mm.
the new year? But there's a ton of people buying up practices right now.
Yep.
So kickstart, get started, guys. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you so
All right.
much. See you next
Thank you.
time. Bye.